about Bali. And please don't let this stop you from going. I'm just trying to warn you so you're well prepared and know of some of the scams and some of the negative things
di Bali,
about
guys.
Bali.
Assalamualaikum, hello, hi, apa kabar good people? Selamat datang, selamat bergabung lagi bersama BDT Channel. Kalian bersama dengan saya BDT, berasal dari Borneo, Sabah, akan menemani kalian semua di dalam episode reactions kali ini. Nah guys, hari ini kita akan buat sebuah lagi reactions video daripada channel Joel Friend. Judul daripada video ini pula guys adalah 17 Things I Wish I Knew Before Traveling to Bali in 2022. Nah, itu judul daripada video yang akan kita buat reactions. 17 perkara yang dia berharap dia tahu sebelum travel ke Bali. Apakah semua itu, guys? Jadi moga kalian semua yang menonton ini sentiasa berada di dalam keadaan yang sehat, selalu dimurahkan rezeki, dipermudahkan segala urusan dunia dan akhirat. Dan kalau kalian sedang diuji dengan sakit, moga dikurniakan kesehatan, dikurniakan kesembuhan. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Tanpa berbasa-basi good people, mari kita nonton seperti apa isi kandungan daripada video ini. 1, 2.
17 things I wish I knew before I traveled to Bali. I have spent over 4 months of my life on this beautiful island and I've got so much knowledge to share with you and to make your trip to Bali even better. Before we begin, let's talk about what you should do when you arrive at Bali International Airport and you come out the airport terminal and there's just loads of taxis, people trying to get you into their taxi, and one of the things you can do is just book a taxi beforehand. It's likely to be slightly more expensive, but it's probably worth the hassle. The other thing you can do is try and bargain a taxi once you're there. But let's not waste any time, let's get straight to number 1, and that is how to get around. Now in Bali there is next to no public transport, so the only way you can get around is by ride sharing or taxis or actually shuttle buses as well. The ride sharing apps are Gojek, Bluebird, and Grab, and I totally recommend these three. Also if you go to a small travel agency, then they'll help you book ferries and other transport to different spots. Now number 2 is where to start in Bali. I always recommend going to Canggu. This is like the heart of Bali. This is where most people go nowadays. People have moved off from going to Kuta and Seminyak, so I recommend starting in Canggu, and if you're by yourself, it is the best place to meet people. Stay in a hostel there and you're guaranteed to make some friends. There are so many hostels to choose from in Canggu and they're all cheap. Now number 3, there's lots of small fees. For example, you've got to pay for parking all the time, you've got to pay for beach entrances, you've got to pay for those Bali swings that you've seen on Instagram. So make sure you got some small cash on you because there's always little fees you have to pay, but it's never expensive. Now number 4, if you've been to Bali, you will know this, that the traffic is so bad and it takes forever to get from A to B. But the best way to get around is by scooter. And honestly, there's so much traffic, so if you haven't ridden a scooter before, please be careful, or go up north and learn to ride a scooter there where the roads are a lot quieter. Number 5 is all about accommodation and where to book places in Bali. Now there's 3 places people normally tend to book on, and that is Agoda, Booking.com and Airbnb. Now recently Airbnb, the prices have seemed to really increase, but you can still get some really good deals on Agoda and Booking.com. And if you're looking to stay in hostels in Bali, then definitely recommend using Hostelworld. It's literally so good for staying in good hostels as it gives a clear rating and there's loads of reviews. Now let's move on to number 6, and that is going to be your Bali itinerary. There's going to be so many different places that you're recommended to go, but you can't fit it all in one. I spent over 2 months in Bali and I still haven't seen it all.
Sudah 2 bulan tapi masih tidak
cukup untuk cover Bali, guys. Now you're going to start off in Canggu. As I said earlier, it's the best place to start, and I'd recommend 5 days here, and then heading to Ubud for 4 days. Also, one of the best things to do in Ubud is the Mount
kalau datang ke Bali mesti ke Ubud.
And I'll leave a link in the description to it because you will not want to miss it. It's one of the best things I did in Bali. Then moving on to the mountainous kind of central region of Munduk and spend 3 days
air terjun dia guys, keren gila.
You can either head right up north to Livina where you can actually see dolphins, or you can head east to Amed where you've got beautiful views of the big volcano Agung. Now next we're going to be leaving the main island of Bali and going to the Gili Islands. There are 3 Gili Islands and I recommend going to 2 or Gili T, the main one, and I recommend spending 5 days there. It's a really chilled out place and the beaches are beautiful. Now, one of my favorite places in Bali is Nusa Penida, and you have to go here. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world, and this island will literally blow you away. If you actually want to see another video I did on Nusa Penida, then I'll leave it down below. I recommend spending 3 days on Nusa Penida, and don't forget to go to the famous Kalian beach. You will not want to miss it. Next, you should go to the neighbouring islands of Nusa Senegon and Nusa Lembongan. And I recommend spending about 3 days there, but you'll probably want to stay longer than that, to be honest. Now, the best place is to go back onto the main island and go onto the bottom southern bit of Bali. And it's like a kind of weird shape at the bottom, and this is Uluwatu. And I recommend spending your last few days here, maybe 4 days, because there is so much to do. If you like surfing, it's a great place to surf. The cliffs, the beaches are beautiful, and it's a really, really cool place in Bali. Now, number 7 is a quick one, and that is the offerings on the ground. Please don't step on them, try to stay away, because it is a religious thing that they do, and it's an offering to the gods. If you didn't know, then Bali Island itself is actually Hindu, whereas the rest of Indonesia is predominantly Muslim. So that's just something to keep in mind. Moving on to number 8, and that is make sure you bargain. It is not offensive to bargain, it's just how they do it in this part of the world. And you must do it, otherwise you're going to be spending a lot more money than you should be. For example, I was bargaining for the ferry ticket, and for each person one way, he said it was 600,000 each. And I managed to bargain that down to 400,000 each. So you can actually save a lot of money. This was like a $12, $15 saving, so make sure you bargain. Now, number 9 is when to go. If you've been to a tropical part of the world, you probably know that there are 2 seasons, dry season and wet season. And when you go probably will make quite a big difference. Dry season in Indonesia is between June to September, and wet season is from November to April. But honestly, take that with a pinch of salt. When I was there in July, it rained so much, but when I was there in 2018, it hardly rained at all. One of the advantages of going in wet season though is that things will be cheaper, like hotels, flights, etc. So take advantage of that. Moving on to number 10, and that is try Indonesian food. Now, if you're from the Western world, then you probably haven't had Indonesian food, and it's not really that well known there. But honestly, it is so good. Amelia and I absolutely loved it. One of the good things is that there's lots of vegetarian options. There's this thing called tempeh, and it's like a soybean, and honestly, it is so good, and one of the things I miss here in the UK. Obviously, the classic dishes are like nasi goreng, mie goreng, which is fried rice and fried noodles. You can get this pretty much anywhere, and it's always really, really cheap. Now, one of the things, Indonesia is quite well known for its spicy food, so make sure you tell the waiter that you probably don't want that spicy, or just say like a little bit, or if I say pedas sedikit, which is like a little bit spicy. Now, one of the things you have to do is try a warung. It's basically like a buffet, kind of canteen style, and you can basically choose exactly what you want on your plate. There's a really good one in Canggu, and I'll write it down below. I've just forgotten the name of it. Now, number 11 is trying all the different cafes and restaurants. There are so many different restaurants and cafes, all the quirky, cool ones, but honestly, there are so many, and they're all really good. One of the things they do is add on a 15% service charge and tax, and sometimes you're not expecting it, so it might be a little bit more, but honestly, even though it's Western food, it is still pretty cheap. Now, number 12 is some of the beaches are not as beautiful and pristine as you may think. Some of the beaches around Canggu, Kuta and Seminyak are actually black sand beaches, and they're not those white sandy beaches you may be expecting. But don't worry, the Gili Islands are where the beautiful white sand beaches are. Also, if you go to the neighbouring islands of Lombok, there is beautiful white long sandy beaches there too. And obviously, Nusa Penida, as I said in the itinerary, you must go there because it's probably got one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, Kalian Beach. Some great beaches on Bali Island itself is in Uluwatu. The beaches down there are really good. So
dari Bali ke
nice
Lombok,
beaches,
dari Bali ke Lombok berapa
now, one of the
jam?
things you have to keep in
Bali
mind
ke
for your
Ubud
own
pula
sake is
berapa
that
jam,
some of the
berapa lama?
monkeys and the dogs may have
Batu
rabies.
guys, komen di
At the
bawah,
monkey
komen di
forest
bawah.
in Ubud, all the monkeys won't have rabies, so if you get scratched by one of them, it doesn't matter. If you do get bitten or scratched, you must go to hospital and get a rabies jab, then you'll be absolutely fine. Now, number 14 are going to be the negative, bad things about Bali. And please, don't let this stop you from going. I'm just trying to warn you so you're well prepared and know of some of the scams and some of the negative things
di Bali,
about
guys.
Bali. So in Bali, one of the things which have been happening is that on the back of scooters, phones have been stolen. It's not just phones, but also bags. If you've got a bag on your back, I've heard about people being them ripped off.
Apa nih hitam jak?
Another thing are scams in taxis. Sometimes
Scam.
if you're booking with Grab, they'll try and charge you more and say, oh no, you need to pay more. You shouldn't be paying any more than it says on the Grab app. And if they're charging you more, they're just trying to get more money out of you. One of the things, you have to be quite persistent and just say no to things. You can feel pressured to do things or take opportunities or get in a taxi, but if you're not comfortable and you don't want to take it, just say no. Now, if you're going to other places outside of Bali, like Lombok or Java, they will not be as used to seeing white people. We had a lot of children and a lot of people wanting photos with us.
Hello.
Wah, banyak yang mau bawa foto.
We're just getting a photo with the boule.
The other thing is, as it is Muslim, a lot of the girls and females all cover up, so they might not be used to seeing girls and females with more skin showing. It's just something to keep in mind. Now, number 15, there is more to see than just Bali. There's Lombok, there's Java, there's Borneo, there's Sulawesi, there's Flores. There's so many different islands. Indonesia has like 17,000 islands, so you're not going to be short of places to visit. Obviously, these places aren't as touristy, so if you're looking to go there, make sure you do your research and maybe learn some Indonesian phrases and just be prepared for a less touristy environment. One thing you can do, which I highly recommend, is doing a Mount Batur and Mount Ijin tour from Bali. You get a private driver and they'll take you all the way into Java and take you to the two amazing volcanoes. And this is one of the most stunning places that I've been to anywhere in the world. You literally go to 2 active volcanoes, but they won't blow up. Well, hopefully not. But honestly, highly recommend it. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to do it. It will blow you away. But honestly, Indonesia is one of my favorite countries in the entire world, and there is so much to see, and I can't wait to keep on exploring the beautiful country. Now, number 16 is a little hack and something you can do anywhere in the world for touristy places, and that is get up early and go to the spots. You will see all these cool Instagram shots in the rice terraces and rice fields with no people in them, and that's because they're shot at sunrise. If you want to get to the spots, the touristy spots with no other people, get there early and you'll likely miss them. Now, number 17 is all about budgeting. Now, in Bali, you can budget on $20 US a day, or you could probably spend $1,000 US a day. There's so many options for the broke, cheap backpacker, all the way to the luxury honeymooner. So in Bali, there is so much to choose from, and honestly, you can spend as much money as you want or as little as you want. If you are on a really strict budget, you can do it on $20 US a day, which is incredible value. I honestly think Bali has the best value of accommodation anywhere in the world. Me and Amelia stayed in a £7 a night, double bed with an ensuite. Honestly, that's insane. And it came with breakfast. If you want to go out partying every night, then alcohol is quite expensive, more expensive than like Thailand and Vietnam, so that's just something to take into account. There is obviously loads of cool expensive villas that you can stay in Canggu or Ubud or anywhere in Bali. So if you've got more money to spend and you're just there for a couple of weeks, you can splash the cash, and honestly, your money will go so far. Obviously, eating Indonesian food is really cheap, and you can normally get a nasi goreng for like 15,000 or 20,000, which is incredible value. I think that's everything to do with budget, but if you've got any questions about budgeting or Bali in itself for your first time and you're going and you're scared or you're worried about something, please leave the questions down below in the comments, because someone else probably has the same question as you, and I'll get back to you and I'll answer your question. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. Follow me on Instagram for live updates of what we're doing. Me and Amelia are going on a big trip to Asia again, so excited for that.
Okay guys,
thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Alright, jadi demikianlah video yang kita baru nonton bareng guys. Jadi itu udah 17 tips ataupun perkara tentang Bali yang saya rasa mungkin ada yang sudah tahu, ada yang belum tahu. Tapi secara garis besar dia, Indonesia atau Bali itu adalah satu tempat yang menyediakan accommodation yang terbaik di dunia. Itu menurut bule ini guys. Jadi bagaimana pendapat kalian? Apa kalian setuju atau tidak guys? Semoga video yang saya react ini mampu memberi kalian manfaat, mampu memberi kalian hiburan, dan saya rasa sampai di sini saja. Salam santun, salam damai, dan salam silaturahmi. Terima kasih kalian yang sudah klik dan menonton video ini. Assalamualaikum good people. Salam Nusantara.